Hello and welcome to Election Brief, your one-stop shop for all election-related news. Coming up in today's edition, former President Mahama pleads the DC government will restore justice for all in spite of difference as the party commemorates years since the passing of former President Professor Evans Atta Mills.
I stand today before the tomb that holds the mortal remains of the Asumdwehene, the King of Peace. And I pledge that I'll continue his fight for the peace and unity of this country.
Also in this edition, Center for Democratic Development says the electorate hold the solution to monetization of Ghana's politics.
Candidate A thinks if I stop paying that money to that delegate, the other person will pay. So the only way to stop it is for us to get them both to agree that this is not the way to do it. But they will not do it until you and I tell them, look, if you sign on to this thing, we will reward you. We will vote for the candidate that does not take a bribe or that doesn't pay for the primary.
And also in this bulletin, Chairman of the governing MPP, Freddie Blay, objects to calls for disciplinary action against Howard Kumson as he mounts strong defense in her favor.
It's over-exaggerated, and people are...
It's exaggerated?
It's over-exaggerated.
Over-exaggerated.
That's what I'm saying.
We are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539, also on digital TV and on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144 and on YouTube. Stay tuned in. Today marks exactly 8 years since the passing of late former President Professor John Evans Atta Mills. Family, friends, and leading members of the opposition NDC gathered at the Asumdwe Park here in Accra for the wreath-laying ceremony. What's interesting is that the NDC family, because the founder of the party, Jerry John Rawlings, visited the site quite early in the morning, choosing not to attend the program organized by his party. Watch. Now, subsequently, former communications director during President Atta Mills' tenure, Koko Anyedoho, also visited the park where his Atta Mills Institute had organized an event to commemorate the 8th anniversary of Professor Mills' passing. That program was also separate from what the NDC as a party had organized. My colleague Maxwell Akbakba spoke to Koko Anyidoho, who reiterated the need for peace in the registration exercise and upcoming polls. Of course, the NDC program had many of the party's bigwigs attending. Former President John Mahama pledged to continue the fight for peace and unity of Ghana. He also stated that a future NDC government will restore justice for all, irrespective of political affiliation. On Election Brief, we're taking a short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Election Brief, and let's go back to our top story, and it's about the commemoration, the 8th commemoration of the passing of former President Professor Atta Mills. And as I indicated, former President John Mahama and many bigwigs were at that event organized by the NDC. Mr. Mahama pledged to continue the unity of Ghana. He also stated that a future NDC government will restore justice for all, irrespective of political affiliation.
Professor Mills was a father for all of us. One who considered all of us his children. Today, Ghanaians are crying for such a father. One who will see all of us as one, as his children. Today, Ghanaians are crying for peace and unity. Today, Ghanaians are crying for a nation where all the opportunities will be open to all of us and not a selected few. I stand today before the tomb that holds the mortal remains of the Asumdwehene, the King of Peace. And I pledge that I'll continue his fight for the peace and unity of this country. May his peace and grace guide us as a nation. May his peace and grace guide us as a party to the victory we so desire in the elections of December 2020. So that as a party and as a leadership, we shall restore to this country the peace and unity we once enjoyed. And so that we may, as a leadership and a party, put back to work the many thousands of people who have lost their jobs under this government. So that we may, as a party and leadership, relieve Ghanaians of the excruciating hardship that they currently face.
Well, on this part, Chairman of the NDC, Samuel Fusampofu, condemned the widespread violence and lawlessness at the voter registration centers. As he observed, the country needs someone with the values of Professor Atta Mills to calm the...
Was a patriot whose disposition and calm, confident demeanor rubbed off on everyone who came into contact with him. In this moment of real challenges, in which there is widespread violence and lawlessness, just because we are writing our names in order to be able to cast our votes, John Evans Atta Mills, the peacemaker, John Atta Mills, the Prince of Peace, is who we need to calm the waters. But alas, he's no more, gone to join the hallowed ancestors who spend their lives and employ their strength to build a country that we are all proud, and we are also proud to call our own. As we congregate here this morning to participate in this annual ritual, let us never forget what he stood for and what he taught us. Let us remember always to do right by our fellow countrymen. Let us continue to love each other as he loved us. And let his noble spirit intercede
on our behalf, so that by the grace of God, we will win the upcoming general elections and allow the people of Ghana to breathe once again.
Now let's head to the Volta region, because Energy Minister John Peter Amewu has condemned the violent clashes between agents of the two leading political parties at a registration center in the Hohoe constituency. More than 150 registration forms were destroyed by the agents over the data captured by the EC officials. The scuffle disrupted and delayed the registration process for about 5 minutes. Amewu, after registering for his voter ID card, admonished supporters of both the NDC and the MPP to refrain from such violence.
The voters' registration exercise was marred by violent incidents in the Hohoe constituency, where the Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, is contesting the parliamentary elections on the ticket of the NPP against Professor Margaret Kweku of the NDC. At least 3 incidents were reported at different registration centers during the first and second phases of the exercise. The NDC, at a press conference, accused members of the NPP of masterminding the unfortunate incidents. However, addressing the media after acquiring his voter's ID card, Mr. Amewu condemned the incidents and called for peaceful electioneering.
I've heard a number of instances where there have been little skirmishes here and there, within our own borders. But this is just a word to all of them that I don't believe in violence. I'm a man of peace. And so we're using this opportunity to call on everybody to exercise a bit of restraint. Sometimes tensions comes up, but that should not generate to any violence. But I want to put it on record that I don't promote violence. I am a man for the people. I belong to the common people, and I want these people alive. Vote for me. If I have to, trigger a violence, how are they going to stay alive and vote for me? So I condemn all, in all uncertain terms, all violence that have occurred. To attribute faults, but just to ask a bit of restraint, from both sides, so that we will be able to go through this process smoothly. This is just the beginning of the process, and so if we are able to calm down tensions and go through the process smoothly, other nearby nations.
And speaking of electoral violence, Chairman of the governing MPP, Freddie Blay, has objected to calls for disciplinary action against MP for Ewutu Senya East constituency, Hawa Kumson, over her involvement in the shooting incident at the Step to Christ registration center at Kaswa on Monday. Mr. Blay mounted a strong defense in favor of the Special Developments Minister, Initiatives Minister, arguing Madame Kumson was rather a victim.
If you listened exactly, I believe you had reporters on the scene. And based on the report from your own reporters and some of our membership and independent bystanders of what took place at that place, there was a surge of people, some on motorbikes, and rushing at the MP who was going around to inspect what was going on, encourage people say you shouldn't have been there, and so forth. Encourage members of the party and the public, and even NDC people to patronize the registration exercise. And then before she was there, there were people surging around and on motorbike threatening. She felt threatened. It was a lady. The story that she's saying, which I have no reason to believe otherwise. And I felt very threatened. He was defending herself. And he didn't shoot at anybody. He fired a warning shot to keep people, to ward off the people who were coming too close. Some, I'm told, one of them used a motorbike to hit a car that was in it. That's what she says. That's what some people are saying. And check from your own reporters what took place. I think it's over-exaggerated. And people are...
It's exaggerated?
It's over-exaggerated.
Over-exaggerated.
That's what I'm saying.
I see.
Definitely. She has agreed that...
She has
admitted that he fired a warning shot. Take care for her word. And if you are talking about as if there was a bullets all over, like there was a big fight between at that spot or not. There haven't been any report, any casualties, but it's unfortunate if there was an array of bullets flying up and down, but I don't believe that's what happened. What it says is that people on bikes were threatening her and she felt her life was threatened, and that's what she did. It's unfortunate that such a situation took place, but thank God not any individual was assaulted or had any bullet.
I mean, her action disrupted the whole registration exercise.
I am not saying her action. Those who threatened her also should be blamed. Indeed, they should be more blamed for what happened. Where are they from? Are they going to register
MP is a victim in this case?
He was a victim, definitely, in this instance. But be it as it shouldn't have been, a situation shouldn't have been created like that. In this country, you could imagine if you feel threatened, you are a woman, and you don't have people around you who could easily save the situation. You need to protect yourself. That's what I've been told, and I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Now, Hawa Kumsin's action has attracted widespread condemnation, with calls on the party to discipline her and also for the president to sack her. But chairman of the party, Freddie Blay, says he will not initiate any sanctions against her since her conduct does not breach the party's constitution.
There's law that the police are investigating the matter,
right,
and I believe we should leave it at that.
So the party,
those who have expressed opinion, I won't stop them from expressing an opinion. I disagree with those who are calling for
some sanctions and resignations.
The party laws of the party do not call for any sanction in this circumstance, and I will not, therefore not initiate anything of the sort.
So you won't discipline Hawa Kumsin for doing that?
I'm saying that the facts are still unfolding. Police are investigating. I will not take any steps. I will not encourage any steps. The party's constitution doesn't call for any sanction in this. Nobody has lodged any complaint, except those who expressing opinion, as it were, and I'm saying let them keep their opinion. We will wait for the report of the police.
So you only act after the report of the police, is that what it is?
I'm waiting for the report.
The party,
if the police untoward has been done by her, what action should the party take? If you're waiting for the report of the police, and based on that, you will know what to do.
Now, Mr. Blay has also been reacting to the NDC's call on its members to defend themselves at registration and at the centres, and impressed on the elders of the party to call its National Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, to order.
It's a pity. This circumstance does not call for this kind of tension to be raised. You see, as a class of politicians, we must also be wary of our actions and know exactly what to do and our utterances. Okay. My attention has been drawn, for example, to what the NDC communicator,
the National Communications Officer.
That's right.
You're talking about Sami Jemfi?
Yes, I've heard it.
Okay.
Reaction to the situation and calling on party and to defend themselves, as it were, and saying it's not a voting period. This is an exercise that it's registration, Electoral Commission is organizing. And then, of course, our party members, I'm talking about both party members and all other party, various parties, are urging their members to go and register, so that on the D-Day they may be in a position capable, if they so qualified to do so, will exercise their franchise at the appropriate time. It's good to encourage it, but it's too early for people to even raise the tension. And people calling that people are being beaten, and that they are calling their members to defend themselves. And it's absolutely uncalled for. Yeah. Everybody has a right to defend himself or herself, depending on the circumstance.
Right. So you agree with him?
Wait, it's not a question of agreeing with him. I'm saying circumstance. Right now, there's no need for anybody to raise that kind of tension. Make it look like it's a war situation. It's not the first time that we've even had an exercise leading to an election. This registration time. There have been even instances when we were having on the polls day, that is, let's say 7 December, or in some cases by elections, and the two parties or the other parties, they managed to meet, and in some cases there had been breach of the peace, various instances and so forth. But that's not a national occurrence. That is not justification for any individual now to call to arms.
Still here on Election Brief on your election headquarters. Now, the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, says the electorate holds the solution to monetization of politics in the country. Executive Director Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh says besides fueling corruption, vote buying deprives the citizenry of good quality leaders. He believes the current practice inhibits the country's development. Professor Prempeh spoke on the sidelines of the launch of the CDD's Manifesto project in Kumasi. Nanaya Ojima has more.
The recent vote buying issue involves Deputy Chief Executive of the Micro and Small Loan Center, Hajia Abibata Sani Zakaria, was cited in CDD's Corruption Watch Arm investigation to have used the center's fund to induce to vote for her in the recent parliamentary primaries. Across the political divide, financial and material influence of voters has become recurrent, though alleged corporates continue to deny such allegations. Professor Prempeh prefers a solution.
Candidate A thinks if I stop paying that money to that delegate, the other person will pay. So the only way to stop it is for us to get them both to agree that this is not the way to do it. But they will not do it until you and I tell them, look, if you sign on to this thing, we will reward you. We will vote for the candidate that does not take a bribe or that doesn't pay for the primaries. There are big structural problems. What we are trying to do is just give the parties an incentive through the voters to do the right thing.
10 areas of interest have been highlighted in the document dubbed Manifesto Project, aimed at promoting responsible manifesto for development. Governance, education and agriculture are among key areas of high interest. Former acting director of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Ahetochega, explains solving challenges with flagship policy free SHS should be answered.
The last I heard was that capitation grants had not even gone to basic schools. Have not gone. In the secondary schools, they are not getting the kind of quality food that they are having. So there are a whole range of related challenges coming into this. And again, I'm always very instructed to say that the essence of what we have done today, it's not to highlight those ones. All we are saying is that, look, we have observed that there are some emerging challenges. As political parties, how would you fix them so that we get a better delivery?
So you had the CDD there, do the right thing, don't engage in vote buy. And on that note, we end Election Brief. That's a wrap for it for this week. Join us same time next week. Remember, it's always on from Mondays to Fridays at 1:30 p.m. I'm Arba Kumson. Up next is Sports Today.